Good evening, and welcome to Caribbean Museum Center for the Arts. And tonight we're presenting folk tales and tales from folks. And we have two very distinguished storytellers and longtime residents of Frederiksted here with us tonight. And they're going to give us some folk tales and some tales about growing up in Frederiksted. My name is Yulette George. We are doing this it is a joint effort between Clean Sweep Frederiksted and the Caribbean Museum Center for the Arts, and we thank you all for coming here this evening, and hopefully you will really enjoy yourself and you can pick up a book before you leave. That'd be good too. Okay, we'll start out with Dr. Eugene Alexander Peterson, who was born in Frederiksted, St. Croix, Virgin Islands on February 3rd, 1949. Happy belated birthday, sir. To Evadne Nizer Peterson and James Archibald Peterson. He grew up in Frederiksted and later attended the Tuskegee Institute, now University in Alabama. He earned his Bachelor's of Science degree in Animal Science in 1973 and his Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree in 1979. He worked for a brief period at the Needham Animal Clinic in Needham, Massachusetts, and returned home in 1976 to work for the Cargo Animal Clinic in La Grande Princesse, St. Croix. He later became co-owner of the clinic and worked there for 25 years. He retired from his veterinary practice and for a period of 7 years ran the Virgin Islands Racing Corporation, which managed the Randall Doc James Racetrack on St. Croix. As president of Verico, I'm mispronouncing that, but he was very instrumental in introducing simulcasting and account wagering on horse races and dog races to the Virgin Islands. Dr. Peterson is still a performer and can be seen on island or abroad on many of his cultural trips to Europe and the mainland United States to perform solo with his guitar, with church dance groups, or with calypso bands performing the classic calypso folk music of the Virgin Islands and the Caribbean. He was elected to serve as a delegate to the Virgin Islands' 5th Constitutional Convention and was territorial campaign manager for Kenneth Mapp's gubernatorial campaign in 2010. Dr. Peterson is also a popular talk music show host on the local radio station WSTX on St. Croix, where his topics range from current events, cultural preservation, to political discussions, as well as featuring the classical calypso music of the 30s through the 80s. Dr. Peterson. I'm going to go do both introductions, both bios first, and then I'll allow each one to have their opportunity to tell their stories. And then we'll do tales about growing up in Frederiksted. Wayne E. Peterson, and affectionately known as Bully, is a self-made artist, musician, and storyteller. He is the son of Prussian-born parents. Bully was born on the island of Puerto Rico while his father served in the U.S. Army and was stationed there. Bully was raised and has lived on St. Croix since 1960. He attended Collado Marco School from the 1st to the 8th grade. Upon graduation from 8th grade, he attended the St. Croix Central High School, where he earned his high school diploma in 1972. He is also an alumni of the University of the Virgin Islands, where he earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in accounting. Over the years, Bully has earned the distinction of being a traditional and cultural bearer of St. Croix due to his artistic depiction of the culture of St. Croix of the Virgin Islands, of the U.S. Virgin Islands of the United States. That made no sense. I'm sorry. Bully Peterson.
Good evening. As said, my name is Eugene Peterson. Grew up right here in Frederiksted. And had a lot of good experiences. The island was quite different at the time. Had about in the late 50s, early 60s, probably about 10, 11,000 people living in St. Croix. I like to tell people that after 9 or 10 o'clock at night, you could drive from Frederiksted to Christiansted and don't meet another car on the road. It'd be just that empty. But the towns, both towns, were very vibrant. Had a lot of people living in the town. All these yards had families, most people here were Catholics, and the Catholic families were usually pretty big, as elsewhere. So I have 7 brothers and sisters, and that was a medium-sized family. Most people would have more. Not to talk in, not even to bring in the other aspect of it, where in some cases people had 2 families. I'm not, I'm not going to go there. But anyway, it also, growing up here was quite, like I said, quite different, a very exciting experience. And so it prompted me, as I used to tell my stories on Facebook and other venues, little synopsis of some of the stories, people would say, write a book, write a book. So here it is. I wrote a little book about growing up here in Frederickstead, called Tantan Tales, and you have to buy the book to find out what that means. But basically, I went to St. Patrick's School, Catholic school, for the first elementary part of my education, and then I transferred to the public school. Claudio Marco School was just built, and so I went there, and then the government decided to consolidate the high schools, and went to Christianstead High School. Then they decided to build another high school, and ended up going to Central High School for my last year in high school. And of course, I graduated from there and then went on to college. By saying that, you know that we were shuffled around. I like to tell people that we were the first ones that experienced busing. Busing was not new to us here in St. Croix, getting up at 5:30 in the morning to catch the bus to go to Christianstead to be there for 7:30. But it was very exciting. Now, some of the things as a little boy growing up here that I like to talk about was, who knows what torching is? Torching? Okay, well, I see a staunch Crucian over there and stuff that no. Well, that is when, and we call it torching. That's the Crucian pronunciation. But it's looking for crabs, the land crabs that you see. And we would, if you were lucky, you might have a flashlight. And if you were poor, you would make yourself a flambeau, which is nothing but some kerosene oil in a bottle, such as a rum bottle, and you put a wick in it and light the top of it, and it would burn and produce some light for you to go searching in the bushes for the crabs. And it was a popular thing for us to do. One of the things as young kids, we get out of school in the afternoon, and you would do the chores for your parents. Your parents, most of them were either working or out in the field working, and didn't get home till around this time, 5:30, 6 o'clock. And so you, as kids, would get home at 3 or 4 o'clock and had your chores to do. But if you were a little bad boy like I was, you would hurry up and do what you had to do and run away and go play ball with the kids in the neighborhood. And one of the places that we used to play ball was in a place called Marley, which still exists, as a matter of fact. You still live in Marley? And we used to play ball there, and after it got dark around this time, we would go and sit in the corner under the street light. Now remember that we didn't have street lights like we did today. What we had was one, maybe 200-watt bulb in each corner. So the block in between, let's say from this corner to that corner, was very dark. And so if you were a little bit timid or afraid, you would have to run. You would get under the light. You look and you're hiding from zombies or whatever, and then you would make a beeline for the next light until you do that until you get home. But anyway, we would gather under the light there at the front of Marley Project, and then we would play ukulele and have fun. The guys would talk about what happened that day, or if there was a softball game or something, we would brag about it, get the bragging rights and all that stuff. And then some of us had curfews. The curfew was usually sunset. And again, if you were a wayward kid, you would break the curfew and decide you want to hang with the bigger boys. and end up staying out later than you were supposed to, and you get home and get what we call an ass whooping.
Yeah, but I don't mean to interrupt that, but also, one of the curfew was the church bell. The church bell would ring at 5 and at 6. I guess 5 was when people get off from work, so the instructor was get home before the second church bell ring. So from the time the first church bell start to ring, you start heading home.
That's right.
And you better be home before that second church bell, because once that second church bell comes, you're home, you're in trouble.
That's right. And so one night we were, and the guys were sitting on the corner, and one of my friends who lived next door to the corner there, my Marty, he wasn't as bad as we were, so he had to be home. And he's here tonight, but I'm not going to call his name. And we decided to go torching crab, and we walked up. One good place to go torching crab is usually where there's water, and the salt pond, which is up by going on the way to the 20th pool, right across from the sandcastle and the cottages by the sea. Now, gotta remember that none of those places was there. Well, cottages by the sea was there, but there was just one or two buildings, and then Miss Dorsch lived across the street. But at nighttime, the whole place was dark.
Yeah, it was another little door, rode up along the coast of the South.
Right, and there was a little, once you passed that area, there was a small dirt road going, which was enough for one car to go. Well, we would walk it and go there torching the crabs. So the group of us walked up there, and we were torching, and I caught a few crabs and everything. You had your crocus bat and your flambeau, and you would see a crab run in the bush, and you would run after it, and if it got into the hole, you would take your stick and what we call choke it out the hole, you know, and you gunge it out the hole, and so we were up there torching. Now, I started to get kind of nervous because it started to get way past my curfew. And I started to say, hey guys, you don't think we should go back? And no. So the older guys decided they were going to continue towards Sandy Point, torching crab. And I thought, well, I got to get back home. So finally I decided that I was going to make it back home myself. On the way back, I'm walking, and now it's quiet because the guys are gone, and it's very quiet. You imagine no cars around. The noise from the cars driving the street was not there. It was very quiet, maybe just with the crickets and stuff like that. And so I'm walking, coming down the road, and I get there by where Sandcastle is today. And I'm coming down, and then I hear something behind me, like that, you know. I look back and I stop, and the thing stopped. And I look back and I don't see this thing. So I started again. And I'm walking. And I walk a little faster. And the thing starts to follow me. I stop and I go, oh, by now I'm sweating, right? And I'm down a little bit towards toward what we call the molasses pier. And I said, no, I can't take this. And I took off running, and I hear him behind me, and I'm running full, I'm out of, but when I got by where Mr. Polo Gittings lived, which is close there by where Bully lives now, and I stopped, and I'm out of breath, and the thing stopped also, and I'm out of breath, so I started walking again, and it started, oh my God, I finally figured it out. My mother had bought me a brand new pair of blue jeans pants. And my legs were rubbing together. And you could hear it. I don't know, so that was one of my Jumbi stories. So I was not very, how should I say, not afraid, but I didn't believe, I should say, in Jumbi. But you know, when you could believe all you want, you could say, I'm not going to believe in that kind of stuff and things like that. But when you're by yourself and you're in the dark and you still get that little monster under the bed that you swear that you don't believe that is there. And so I never really believed too much in Jumbi. So I always was curious to the solution as to what would make noise and what would make people believe that they were Jumbis. Another story was that when we were growing up, we had 2 movie theaters here in Frederickstead. And the shows were about the same time. But the more sophisticated or more elaborate theater was the Christian said the Alexander Theater. And my parents religiously every Sunday would go to the movies and leave us kids there. Of course, they would leave the older ones to mind the younger ones. And as they left, and to go to Christianstead, because they had to leave here, let's say around 5 o'clock or so, to get up there for the 7 o'clock movie or 6:30 movie, whatever the time was. And as they left, my older brothers and sisters would do what? They would leave too. They would come down to the cheaper movie down here at the Percy Garden Theater, which is now currently First Bank. Right, and so First Bank was there. I mean, the theater was there. And they would leave me, because I was too small, at home with my younger brother, Mickey, and we had a cousin, actually a niece, that was living with us. So I was the older of the 3, and I would have to babysit these 2 younger ones, probably about maybe 10, 11 years old, and they were like maybe 7 or 8. But my older brothers and sisters, who were 15 and 16 at the time, they got with their boyfriends and girlfriends and came down to the movies. So they had this story going around where there were werewolves. That every full moon night, that the Danes, the white Dane people, would turn into werewolves, and they would do all kind of crazy stuff. And one of the things that they did is that they would climb on your roof and scratch. So you would hear that scratching sound on the top of your roof, and they usually did it, and that's the way the story was told. And I guess this was just to encourage the young girls to behave themselves so that they don't get pregnant. They would say that the werewolf could tell if a young lady is pregnant, and he would come looking for her at night, and he would get on the roof and scratch the roof. Well, lo and behold, and don't forget, there are no TV, just the radio. And even the radio, you had specific programs, and the radio station would cut off in a very short period of time. And so I'm sitting there minding my niece and my brother, and I hear this up the roof, going like that. I'm sweating, and I'm like, oh my God, and it continues, and it on top of the roof. I said, oh God, there's a werewolf up there. So I get so frightened. I come down the street. We lived on King Street, by the way, right up here. And I came down this street, and I'm going, and I see the people coming out of the movies. And did you see my sister? You see Amy? You see Arlene? And begging asking the other people, because I want them to come back home with me. I'm scared as hell. And so I couldn't find them. I had to go back home and wait. And then my parents came home early. I don't know what happened that night, but they came home early. And I'm there crying, telling them that they left me alone and left me here in the house, and the werewolf was coming in, and I had to run down the road and all that stuff. So I got to say, but like I said, I was always a curious person. The next day, I go out and I look in to see what if the werewolf left any marks on the roof or anything like that. And lo and behold, there is a coconut tree with the branch scraping on top of the roof. And so I like to say that whenever you hear a lot of these Jumbi stories, which I know Bully has a lot of them that he tells, that you have to investigate and look for them. But again, I think we had an allotted time of like 10 or 15 minutes, and I don't want to talk about, but I have a lot of things that we could talk about. Bully.
All right, you're trying to discredit me, but I know that Jumbidem is real. Yeah, well, like my bio said, I came here in 1960. I was like 5 years old. Oh my goodness, I could go with my age. But anyway, when I came here, I was from Puerto Rico. St. Clair was new to me. You know, my aunts told me that my father brought us here when we were much younger, so we used to be back and forth, but I couldn't remember. But I do remember coming on that Caribbean plane. And one of the first places that we lived was what we call Palm Bush, which is right around the corner there by the vegetable market where it's Lagoon is. There was a village there named Palm Bush. And so I had to get baptized into being a Crucian because, you know, everything was new to me. One of the things that happened, the first thing that happened, was one day we in the yard with my cousin, and I heard this music in the background. And my cousin took off running, masquerade coming. He took off running. So I didn't run because I didn't know what he was talking about. And that was the first time I saw masquerade. The guys came across, and it was, you know, to me, at the time, it looked like they had a nylon stocking over their head and all this kind of thing. And I just looked at it and went by. I wasn't raised to believe that masqueraders at the time was used to as a means to discipline children, because if you didn't behave, the masquerade will get you. And these guys playing masquerade at that time, they will come after you. And a lot of children was afraid of it. They would just run, hide, go under the bed, and sometimes these guys playing masquerade would follow them in the house. And that was a deterrent or used to encourage you to behave. Now, when I really got baptized into Crucianism was with some Jack Spaniard. Now, what happened, my big sister was outside, and there was a Jack Spaniard nest out there. I don't know what she did, but she ran, come in the house crying, you know, and my father was there, and what happened, And she knew where she was, just spending and bite me, and then her eyes started to swell. Then my brother, he decided he's going to investigate outside. He was new to the island too. And he come in crying with his eyes swell up and everything from Jack Spaniard. So then I decided I'm going to go and see what's happening. And I went outside and I get bite by Jack Spaniard, my lips swell, my brother face swell, my sister face swell, and all three of us there in the bed from Jack Spaniard bite. Now my father finally decided he went out with the bottle of spray and got rid of the Jack Spaniard nest. But I always said that was my baptism into Crucianism, because I had to learn about Jack Spaniard. As a matter of fact, Jack Spaniards, you hardly see them nowadays. I don't know if it's some sign in the environment, something happening, but it didn't take long for Jack Spaniard to build a nest in those days. Another story was my bigger brother. He went, and one day we coming home, and my father was out of instruct us to come straight home. So he decided he going over by where Uzim going down Claro Marcos across the street, because I didn't know it was Newtown. We used to call it something. And he going for Taman. I said, "Oh, Paul, you hear Daddy say to go straight home?" "No, Mr. I got Florita man over there going for Florita man." No, Florita man is when the taman is half ripe. I know that they call it flori, and children love it when it's not being just half ripe. It's still starting to ripe, but it's not quite ripe yet. So when the tree reaches that stage, a lot of children like it. That tree got Florita man. So he decided he going for Florita man. Well, the next time I see my brother, his face big, swell up big, right? And he got stung so bad that he ended up in the hospital, and they gave him some medicine to drink. So, used to tease my big brother until he gets Florita man in the eye. Yeah. But that was living in Frederick. Now, I used to also live up on King Street. Now Doc and them, I must give Doc and them credit, because his family, Peterson, no, people mix us up all the time. Yeah, this kind of stuff we look alike, and I have to keep my hand back because people walk up to him and they hug him and he take all the kiss and thing, and after he done, they tell him, "Oh, but I ain't bully." I mean, I've stolen one or two from him too, but his family is one of the oldest residing family in town right now. The Petersons, and I believe you have the McIntosh, and then you have Ma Dowdy. You're about the only three people I know that's still in town. And the Petersons live up the road. They're a well-known, established family and very, very hospitable people, I must say. Because during the parade, everybody come by and they open the house to the whole public and everything. Very hospitable people right here in Fredericksted. And they got that from the mother, because the mother was the same way the mother was my buddy. But anyway, I used to live in Miss Nesbitt yard, used to call it, because a lot of the yards here had a name. You had Miss Nesbitt yard, you had Shada yard, and this other yard, and I used to live in Miss Nesbitt yard. And one of the things that Miss Nesbitt had was she had ducks and chickens, right? And another baptism I had in Crucianism is going outside in the yard and stepping in a nice warm pile of duck. Doo-doo. Squeeze through your toes. And you feel this warm thing. And most of all, but you know that. You must have your brilliant thing when around here. Walk through the yard and they got a duck and you say, "Oh my God, they crying at them." So you have to get used to that. So that kind of was part of growing up in the yard, stepping in that duck. Doo-doo.
You got to remember that everyone wore bare feet. We didn't
Oh,
wear
yeah.
shoes.
If in those days, if someone challenged you to a race, you took your shoes off your foot and said, "Let me go for the race." You ran the race barefooted. Okay?
Well, you had two pairs of shoes. If you were lucky, you had your school shoes and
Home
your,
shoes.
and your
Rubbers.
church shoes.
Or the church.
Your school shoes and the church shoes. And only lucky people could be able to buy what we call rubbers.
Rubbers.
or
Who
tennis
know what's
shoes.
rubbers? All right.
Not that kind, God.
No, that's what we used to call sneakers and then there's rubbers.
The tennis shoes, you could
Yeah.
get a cheap pair for $199 or $250 called Bata Special.
Bata shoes.
Or you could get Converses, which were like $6 or $7 a pair. Now, tennis shoes or sneakers are $300 or $400 if you want a name brand shoe, you know. But that was back then.
Yeah, $4.99. You always ended with 99. And you'd get in an argument with children at school. You got cheap school. No, sir, they said $4.99. Mine is $6.99. And you got this big argument, you know, about who got the best one. They all a bunch of cheap shoes from back then. But I ended up moving to LaGrange, where I spent most of my childhood. But before I went there, one of the people that I met, we were living, and we moved first from Panbush to Mr. Nesbitt yard, spent time on Hospital Street with my aunt, but we were living on Prince Street. Prince Street, right next to Shada House there. And right on the corner, there was a family, the Sakis. And if most of you know Lionel Saki, Lucia Saki and that family. Now, Lionel is a little guy, but in those days he was a big boy to me. So I used to follow Lionel, and Lionel showed me about climbing coconut tree. One day he come to me and said, "Come, let me go for one of the things as children that we did here, and only now, I guess people seeing the health benefits, if we ate a lot of fruits once it's in season. One of the things as a child, you know where the sweetest kenep, where the sweetest taman, where the sweetest mango, and some of these are well kept secrets, you know. Only some people know you'll come back with this, but where you get it from? Don't let me tell you, my son. No, sir. But you know where it is, and so everybody had a little secret spot. So Lionel was one of them he taught me about the Guinea man. I mean, Lionel taught me a lot as a little boy being you from, because he'd be following you up and down. So when he come to me, he said, "Man, it really was some custard apple. Custard, what are they? Come man, I'm going to show you. We're going for custard apple." And we went up in Moravian Church in the Victoria, where the pastor lived across the street. And me and he going up there, and I'm finally behind Lionel. And as we get into the tree, I was saying, "Woo, woo, 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 woo." And this dog come. Well, I take her with her with a bunch of speed. I jumped down from and a little step there, full speed, and banked hard to the left, going up towards Hospital Street down there. And my aunt had lived right by right where the government houses. There was a yard there. I think Bapa and then McIntosh. There was Bapa yard. And when I got there, I saw on the wall, my 10 toes were bust. My 10 toes were bleeding, which was another thing you got used to growing up here with barefoot. A lot of you children, you wear shoes, but when we were your age, we were wearing barefoot around the street. Okay? And trust me, you think you could run now? Take off the shoes and try, you'll see you got some good speed. The shoes was an impediment for us running race. But anyway, I don't want to encourage you to do that because that's not acceptable behavior. But anyway, I moved to LaGrange, and the thing with moving to LaGrange is when I start really hearing about Jumbie. Because in LaGrange, in those days, the canopy across the LaGrange road was so thick that when you was leaving from town into LaGrange, it looked like you were going into this cave and just disappearing into the darkness. Okay, because it had a, it's different now, but in those days, it was a thick canopy. You could almost say LaGrange was almost part of the rainforest, kind of, because it was on the edges of the rainforest, so it still had a lot of that thick, big trees and vegetation and all that stuff in them days. So when you're going home, hey, friend, I would tell them, well, my God, you're going there, my son, you got Jumbie in there, my son. How you going to get home? My son, Jumbie going to hold you. If you go there, you smell any flowers, sweet flowers, there's Jumbie there. And then he would instruct you on how to deal with a Jumbie before you go home. You will run into a Jumbie, turn your shot on the wrong side, you will leave him. All these bunch of things that with this Jumbie story. And they will just follow you till up to that intersection by town and send you down that tunnel of darkness to the Jumbie. As a matter of fact, one of the stories I wrote in my book is sort of influenced by that. The title of the story is the one is what Jimbo, Leonard, and the Jumbie. And that story been influenced on that dark, like mysterious LaGrange road. And I raised up there. I had most of my childhood experience there. We used to walk back and forth to town in those days. I just kind of speed ahead because I know I don't want to bore everybody with a story about my whole life. But I ended up writing a book, and I have it here, Crucian Tales. Now this book is based on a fictional character by the name of Jimbo. And growing up, and up to this day, what I really enjoy doing is listening to the elders. Because there were so many stories that the elders had. Up to today, I play with Blinky. And I still enjoy listening to those older guys tell stories. And I will always tell them, but look, now you guys need to write these stories. Nah, stupid story now. But in my book, all my stories are set right here in Frederickstead. Some of the stories have a little sense of truth to it, because a lot of it is influenced by what I heard. By my father and about Jumbies and all them things. For example, my father one time told us a story about a guy who was here. He was the Obia man of the town, and how he would raise the Jumbies is that he would go to the graveyard and do an enchantment from a book and drop a grain of rice down. And the Jumbie would appear, and then he would instruct the Jumbie what to do. So if that troubled me and he teeth in arm and hug and kisses and that belong to me, I will go to the Obia man and tell the Obia man. And the Obia man will go and raise the Jumbie and tell the Jumbie, look, I want you to follow that. And every time you look to kiss one of your bully your friend, hit your slap. And that's how we used to walk, this Obia man. So one day, this fella, he decided he wanted to raise the dead for himself. So he went to the Obia man's house. Okay? He took up the book. He went up to the graveyard. Now, remember, my father told me, I don't care what that's about you. My father told me this, and my father don't like me. And he took the book, and he went up on the graveyard hill. And he went in the graveyard, and he started the enchantment. Whatever it is, I don't know what he was saying. And he dropped the grain of rice. But what he didn't realize is that the jumbi don't necessarily pop up in front of you. This jumbi popped up behind him. And the jumbi put his hand on his shoulder, so. And when he said that jumbi, well, he took off, and what he did, he fling down the bag of rice and scattered the rice all over. And for every one grain of rice that fell down, a jumbi pop up. And that guy disappeared, run went. The next day, the Obia man realized what happened. And he went to try to put the rice back in the bag to put the jumbi them in. But by then, the pigeon and the birds had already ate most of the rice. So, from that day till now, them jumbi still walking around top. They've never been put back. So don't listen to that, but the Jamaica jumbi in Frederickston, eh?
So anytime you see a pigeon or a bird, better watch out because they're jumbi.
But anyway, my father would always tell us these stories. And my father picked up a lot of these stories because my father was a male nurse for a while, and he worked in the hospital, and he would hear the older guys that tell the story. So a lot of these stories just pass down over time, you know. You know, you got Folk jumbi too? Right in Frederickston, you got Folk jumbi. Jumbis does go and manifest itself in different ways. And this one, a good friend, Miss Asta, tell me about this one, and her mother told her about it. So again, old people don't lie. So these are real stories. Now, I'll tell about the Folk jumbi. Then I'm going to explain to you, because in my book, I have a story in here named Jimbo Jumbi Encounter. And in this book will give you more of a detail, because these are some of the things that influenced me to write my book and to tell my story. So me making up none of me lying and all that. No, I mean, I dramatize it a little bit. I put characters and maybe a little exaggeration here and there. But I've been getting good reviews.
Now, it's stretching the truth.
Now, another thing that I believe in strongly, I'm going to still tell about it for Jumbi, but let me tell her this. I love my Crucian language. I love to talk Crucian. I love to talk Crucian to the point that people start to think maybe he uneducated and he can't do no better. I've had people accuse me of being away, you know, I uneducated and that kind of thing. You know, as you say, I got a college degree, I think, but they would think so because I talk like this and they say, your Crucian is too thick. They tell me my Crucian too thick. And people tell me so loud when I'm talking on the radio. My Crucian too thick. As a matter of fact, I ran for the Senate a couple of times, and the first time I ran, and someone came and they asked that they got into a big debate because people were saying I'm uneducated. I'm uneducated because of how I start, but this is my language. And I think one of the biggest errors that's made is when children go to school and you tell them they're not speaking proper, or they're talking proper. Because when you do that, you're insulting the grandmother, you're insulting the mother, you're insulting all the elders in their family, because this is how the elders spoke, and this is how we start, and we shouldn't have to apologize to nobody for it. Thank you. Now, you see, I try to speak a little. Say speak is not supposed to say talk. So if me, I will be a little influence. Because Kusha don't speak with a talk. But in my book, because what have happened, again, we have some voids that we as Crucian people need to step up to the plate and fill. And it has to do like with our heritage, with our arts, especially with our language, because people would come here and see some of these boys, and they decide, oh, I'm going to write a book on Crucian. The last book, they got pretty popular name, Sight and Crucian, written by a professor. My good friend, I love the Professor Daly, Professor Stern. And she decided she going to write a book. So she took every student that walked in her class at UVI and asked them to say things, and she couldn't identify whether they were from St. Lucia, Dominica, Trinidad. As far as she can say, everybody speaking Crucian. Now, we as Caribbean people, we could distinguish each other from the island they come from when they talk. The outsider think we all sound the same. But most of us, we know our Caribbean brothers and sisters from the time we speak. You say, you from Antigua. You're a Trini boy. You're a Trini. All you know, a Trini. But she don't know. So she got all this big review, Sight and Crucian, and I was kind of upset with that. And I tell her, you know, you don't think you're stretching it a little bit? Oh, I didn't mean to be bold, but I saw I needed to work, and blah, blah, blah. And so now, when they come, visitors, oh, you got to get the book, Sight and Crucian. Oh, you know, she's been here for so many years, and blah, 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 blah. So I decided, when I wrote my stories, one thing that motivated me is I want to capture the Crucian language based on my experience. Now, the Crucian language was such that it was a time when we could distinguish which part of St. Croix you're from. Also, you could know somebody from Grove, them is a Grovian, you can tell people from Christian, you can tell people from down in the valley, from how they spoke. So, my Crucian is how I experienced it, how I raised up with it, and everything. So, I have a glossary in the back of my book of Crucian terms and phrases, but those Crucian terms and phrases come from out of the story, because all the characters in my book talk in Crucian. The story is narrated in what you call proper English. I followed all the rules, I dotted all my I's and everything to tell the story. But the characters, when they're talking in Crucian, they're talking, they're holding back nothing. So you'll be reading, going along, and all of a sudden this Crucian language just jump out at you. So, I have a glossary in the back. Each story has its own glossary. So when you read it and you run into something, you just open it to that glossary, and it's in alphabetical order, and you can get the interpretation in the proper English, where all the T's and I's are crossed, and the verb, noun, agreement is in place, and all that stuff. So I did this so that people could hopefully get an appreciation. Now what I find is that most of the local people, once they get a knack of it, they learn to read it. They learn to read it. Listen, man, I just had the glossary hand me going, but after when I catch on to it, and that's soon they don't need it anymore. They could read it, and they could read it without going back to the glossary. So I think this is a more realistic way to portray the language, because it's in the real life situation when people will say, make certain thing and make certain phrases in a real life situation that the person is confronting in the story. So this is my book. I decided to write it. I'm working on the second part. By the way, Doc, I got a coaching story in the next book.
In the next book?
Yeah.
A torching story?
That's why Jimbo went torching. And all the stories is about the character named Jimbo, who's a fictional character. It could be true too, you know. Because some of them things might remind me of people, you know. You might say Dak in him, some of the things Dak doing it. You might say something to somebody, you know. I say, hey, wait, no. Somebody accused me of being Jimbo. But that's fine. I don't mind. But,
Just don't give out any of my dark secrets, all right?
and the name of the book is Crucian Tales, Trials and Tribulation of Jimbo. And I also, another thing I do, I'm an artist, so I also illustrated the book myself. I self-publish it and everything. And I must give credit to the VI Council of the Arts and Council on the Arts who helped me with the publishing or the printing. I self-publish. I'm a legal publisher, even though I only have one book that I write. Maybe I may publish for some other people sometime. And the name of the publishing is Kafuna's Arts. Okay, Kafuna's Arts. That's the name of my publishing. And so when you look it up, and like I said, it's put together that if you want to reference it, and it's also registered in the Library of Congress, and it's also now on the school database. It's listed there in the school database if you go in the public school system. So when they have the proper funds, they plan to buy some. I donated 2 to every library, but all the librarians says is that it's not 2 books is not enough. They want 4 or 5. So they ask me, oh, when we get the budget? When we get the budget, we'll buy enough so we can supply all the school libraries with it. But I think it's a nice book. I've been getting good reviews from it. The one thing that most people tell me about my book is so when I pick it up, I can't put it down. They get me laughing too much. And they laugh and they call me on the phone and I go, but the time somebody call me, I say, so God, me read the book. Yeah, but and it's based on my things like that my father told me. Like I said, my father told me so much. You have places that's real in here. You know, we raise up here by Little Red Riding Hood and Cinderella, and they're all taking place in some place that we are not familiar with. Jimbo takes place here. So when I tell you about Brocana, I tell you about Krauser, I tell you about the mysterious dark Lagrange Road where the Jumbies reside. You know, they used to tell us. Let me tell you about the Folkak Jumbi real quick. That Folkak Jumbi, a fella was out at night. He used to like to walk at night. And one day, he walking. He said like that with a chick, 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 chick. He hear the chick, 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 chick. And he lived right up there across from Lutheran Church. In the yard. Remember, he said, I saw a yard there with Maria, and then he said, go. And chick, 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 chick. And when he look around, he see a big, tremendous Folkak Jumbi. And he take off running, right? And as he passed the house, his wife named Maggie, Maggie, open the door! And but the Folkak then he tailed so much that by the time Maggie come to open the door, he gone around the street and he bang come down the corner here. The Jumbi and the Folkak Jumbi and he tail, he bang and he make a circle, come up Strand Street and back up. Maggie opened the door and said, I thought I heard my husband. She ain't said nothing. And then she said again, every time he passes another speed of Folkak Jumbi there and his tail. And let me explain something to you. You know what that said, no? That run, but there's nothing faster than a man with a Jumbi and a tail. Nothing faster. Don't let anybody fool you. You got Jumbi, nothing faster than a man with a Jumbi and a tail.
But can you tell us in one of your books that a Jumbi can't make a left turn? Is a left turn or right turn?
He can't bank. He can't bank, but this one for Folkak Jumbi. So I don't know if but he probably, well, because normally, well, let me finish the story. I explain to her why Jumbi can't bank. But anyway, till finally, Maggie decided, watch, I know I hear in his voice, so I'll just leave the door open there because maybe he'll come back around. And that was when he was able to get in the house, jump in the house and run under the bed. Now a Jumbi won't chase you under a bed. If that's a way to get away from the Jumbi. If he chases you in the house, what you do is you go under the bed. And when you go under the bed, then the Jumbi will back off and then you go. But what Jack says is true, the Jumbi can't bankana. The reason why the Jumbi, if a Jumbi chasing you, let me explain to you how to do with a Jumbi when he chasing you. If a Jumbi stays chasing you, keep it on the stretch. Look for a good straight road. Keep it on the stretch and the tail. And then bang suddenly. The Jumbi got to run all the way down the road from the same distance they start running from and walk come back to the corner and then start running behind you again. So the trick is when a Jumbi your tail, keep it on the stretch as long as you could. And then when you see that, hit a hard turn. he gonna go straight and he gotta stop, walk, come back. Okay? And any God-fearing crew should know that this is your opportunity. Don't slow down. Keep up the pace till you get home. And like I say, your man, if you live on the stretch and you got to go in your house, head for under the bed. Okay? So these Junbis around here, that's walking around here, they're still here. Now the place lit up now, not like before. So they just try to keep to themselves, you know, but you have to be careful with the Junbi them. Okay?
All right, buddy. We're supposed to have some elders. Anybody else that showed up? But okay, so we could continue a little bit longer. I wanted to tell a story because Eleanor is here and her father is involved in this. Eleanor's father and my father were good friends, Mr. Murphy. As a matter of fact, Mr. Murphy tells the story that my dad was a little bit older than him. And so on Sundays, my dad on the way to church would have to stop and pick up her dad, Mr. Murphy, take him to church and took care of him for the day. So they grew up like brothers. But later on in life, they both got jobs working, actually the three of them, Mr. Gittings. And they got jobs working at the refinery, the rum factory out at, no, the one out
Bethlehem?
Man, this is old before your time. This is by Jolly Hill.
Okay.
They had a factory out there. And what I wanted, you were talking about fruits and stuff earlier. And we used to go hunting fruits, if you want to call it that. And one of the big things was going out for cane, sugar cane. Now, you got to imagine that the whole of LaGrange going towards Wheeler Fortune, all that was sugar cane. And one of the things that we as young men did to woo the young ladies were to go and actually steal the sugar cane and bring it into town, and that would be your, as if you went
enticement.
As if you went to the pharmacy or someplace and bought some candy, some baby root or some other kind of candy and gave it to your girlfriend. Well, sugar cane was the thing that you did back then. And so a lot of us used to go and raid the sugar cane field. But why I mentioned that is because my dad and Eleanor's father and Mr. Gittings used to have to use the bicycle to go to work. So one morning, these guys were late. The other two guys were late, and my father, like me, liked to be on time. He taught me that time was of the essence and that you should always be on time. And so he left them and went on his own to get to work early. So and you had to be to work real early now. This is not the regular 8 to 5 job. You have to be to work for like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, so you got to leave the town like 4:30, 5 o'clock. And so it's still dark, and he's riding his bicycle going out towards Jolly Hill area. And when he gets to past Manger, you know that little hill going up there from the village there? That little hill, he goes up there, and he sees this thing in the middle of the road going like this, you know, like a big jumbi in the middle of the road, and he's watching it and he's watching, but he can't turn back because he got to go to work. And as he's cooping, going closer and closer here, like that, they turn off and he's gone back towards Frederickson now. So he meets up with Mr. Gittings and Eleanor's father. And he tells them, he said, "My son, they got a big jumbi up there in the road, and we got to, I don't know what we're going to do." So they said, "No, man, no, we going. So they went, and all three of them, when they get to the area, they're looking and they're watching, and they can't see nothing. When they get closer, oh, here. But they don't understand. When they look, there's a house in the bush. There's a house in the bush. And they want to know what happened. They couldn't figure out where this Jumbi gone, so they figure out they start teasing my father about he's afraid. So the next morning now they were on time. So they all three were together. And they're going up towards the place, and sure enough, the big Jumbi is there again. Waving. And so since it's three of them now, they say, well, they're running. And they coop and they're cooping up to the thing. You know why what? The morning sunlight shining through the bushes of the tree. And with the wind blowing the tree, they think. So when they came back after my father had run, the sun had changed the position, so they didn't see the Jumbi. But the next morning when they were on time, there was this Jumbi, and every morning for the next week or 2, because the sun would be in the same position, they would reach there and laugh like hell because there is this Jumbi in the road. So I know you got your thing going on about hiding under the bed and all that kind of stuff.
You can say what you want.
But I guess it's the
No.
science.
No. You know why? Your father then went the wrong time of day. I bet it was midnight and run into a Jumbi. But anyway, I'm going to shift it a little bit, the story from the Jumbi. Since they are trying to contradict me, and let me still contradict this one now. Now, I heard a story that they used to talk about a guy. Now, I'm going to tell you the Jimbo version. Because I was influenced by that story. Of course, like I said, I add characters and I put all kind of things to it and a plot behind it and everything. Right? One day, Jimbo, now this is based on a true story, but I'll give you the Jimbo version. Jimbo, in them days, he was an elder gentleman, right? And he had developed over the years, a lot of old people have what they call turbo foot, right? Turbo foot is when the callus and the bottom of your feet get so thick. They had people that they will have kasha, thorns stuck in the feet and they won't know. And they would sit down there, you see them pulling all these kasha and thing out of the foot when they got a chance to sit down, right? Jimbo foot was so tough because he remind me of a gentleman, I don't call him because his family might be around and don't like it so. But his foot was so tough that one day when we were in school, we got in an argument and my brother got in big trouble. My brother got in big trouble because my brother tells she that every time her father walked, his foot was spark. You put the spark, and she get vexed, and she and my brother get in all kind of thing. They end up in trouble. They went to Miss Richards, Miss Polly Richards, and when she tell Miss Polly, asked my brother, told me, I say, wait a minute, does his foot having electricity? But Mickey had turbo foot now, Jimbo had some turbo foot. And Jimbo used to love to boast and all them kind of thing, right? And there was a fellow named Pablo. He was a shark hunter. Now, in Frederickstead, one of the things that people used to do back in those days, they used to hunt shark hunting down by the fish market. And I mean, when you hear that shark, people would go down there just to watch. Polo, Gittins, he was one of the shark hunters I knew of. They would take, right up the road from the fish market, there was a slaughterhouse. And in those days, when they slaughtered, they would just let the blood go in the water and the entrails and everything. So shark would come. And normally, I never heard of a shark attacking people down there. But because maybe the sharks maybe have a set mind and they come there for the blood, so they're studying people.
They're finding out now that sharks really attack people when they either threaten their area or they're hungry.
Yeah.
And these sharks were not hungry because we had a lot of food. So the garbage dump used to go in the ocean. The hospital was right there. The fish market was right there.
Yeah.
The night soil was right there. The slaughterhouse was there, and the molasses pier, all in a row within within a mile or so of each other.
Right. Well, anyway, this guy, Jimbo, and Pablo was a shark hunter, and he used to hunt his shark on a bateau. Now, a bateau was a homemade boat. I mean, I think the Italians, they call them gondola, some people call them bateau. It's there, but we call them bateau. It was made out of tinning. I would take like two by four and make the bow, and then you fold it over, and then you seal it up with tar, and you make a little sophisticated back. But this guy used to hunt in a bateau. And he was so good in hunting shark that people would come when they hear Pablo going to hunt shark. People would come around to look at him. I mean, it was a beautiful, he would have his harpoon and his rope, and he would capture his shark. So Jimbo, they bragging one day. And he went to Pablo. He said, Pablo, you know I can hunt shark better than you? And Pablo, a quiet guy, he ain't studying it. My son, you don't only be fluking. Now, when somebody tell you a question that you're fluking, that means it's just lucky. But he, Jimbo, could hunt shark better than Pablo. So, one of the guys, a big fella in the crowd named Lundford, get up and said, man, Jimbo, why don't stop your stupidness? You did it talking. You know Pablo is the best man. You can't hunt no shark. You know I think about shark. And the rest of the people in the crowd will jump in and Jimbo case. Now he embarrassed because everybody just said, leave the man alone, leave him work. So Jimbo feels bad now because they're ignoring him. So before you know it, Jimbo grab up the man bateau, right? And the harpoon and take off down in the sea. Go and say he going shark hunting. Now, everybody start laughing at him because they know he gone out on this bateau there, right? He ain't got no oar. He forget the oar. He was so thing, and the boat sailing going out to sea. Well, when he get a good way out to the sea, a big 18-foot tiger shark just happened to be coming by, right? And now everybody start to get frightened. Because they say, but Jimbo, look, we got a big shark out there now. It looked like when the shark saw Jimbo, the dorsal fin raised up above the surface of the water. And people used to say in them days, you know, that once a shark put his dorsal fin out of the water, he's going to attack. If he under the water, fine, but once he raised that fin up above the water, he's going to attack. And people and the ducks see that, and everybody stop laughing for Jimbo and start to feel sorry for him. This one, Jimbo, come back, Jimbo, come back. Even the very fellow who tell you that he can't think, and in fact, the thing that really encouraged Jimbo was that Longford tell you, since you could hunt shark, why you don't go? And everybody said, no, it was a joke. So Jimbo wanted to prove he could hunt shark, so he jumped in the boat, he got out there. And that big 18-foot shark started moving on. You see the film coming. Everybody started and laugh. Oh God, Jimbo, please. Jimbo, come back. Well, he went out there for a minute. And he started. Now, Jimbo don't scare already, you know. But Jimbo decided he going to take the shot anyway. Something happened in Jimbo get up and he's shaking like a leaf. And he grabbed up the harpoon and he ranged back with the harpoon. And as he moved forward with his way to hit the shark, I don't know. The shark, like, back up. The shark was a big shark. You get a big because the shark was a small shark. The shark would have lived to be so big and people hunt the shark if he ain't knows a little thing or two. So the shark moved back and had his head, like, almost like a baba weaving like a box or something. And when the shark did that, Jimbo lunged and he missed and he went boom, boom in the water. About 8 foot of water, Jimbo went down under. Until then, the people on the beach start to bawl. Oh, damn, Jimbo dead. Jimbo dead. It was so bad that people anticipate now Jimbo going to get tear up from that big shark. Jimbo, it was so bad that women had the children start hiding children under the dress. They wanted the children to say, no, I come back, can't see this. It had 2 men and a woman there that fall on the knees and start singing church hymn right away. I went, blessed assurance, They swear Jimbo was dead. But no sooner than that happened, all of a sudden they say Jimbo pop back out the water, land back in a battle, and take his hands like oar and paddle so fast back to land. And that thing that he handed him looked like two fans spinning and a plume of water just kicking up behind the thing. And not only on the land, when he hit the land, sand, a plume of sand started throwing up in the air behind him. And by the time he went there, everybody said, oh, come for Jimbo. And Jimbo, when by the time they left from out the beach and everybody surrounded Jimbo, Jimbo lying down and thing like, now, there was a woman named Miss Gatti that was on the beach. She had went laundry and to wash her husband's clothes. So she had some clothes and she said, oh God, I'm so glad Jimbo gets saved. Let me go and take some of this clothes and my husband's clothes, give a dry set of clothes because, you know, he just get wet down when to the water. We're so glad he's alive. So when Longford went and said, I'd grab the head of no ball and, oh God, just know he dead, just know he dead. He was battling him because he's the one sent Jimbo. When he went, they said, everybody stop. Watching Jimbo. This guy here with the clothes. When they look at Jimbo, Jimbo was bone dry, not a single drop of water had touched Jimbo. He was bone dry. Everybody in the crowd watching saw. They couldn't believe it. They saw when Jimbo plunged, they saw Jimbo went under the water in 8 foot of water. But Jimbo come back to land and not a drop. Even his hat was still at his head in place. So, everybody was shocked. So, Longford said, Jimbo, I'm glad that you're alive. Okay? I'm glad you're alive. But leave Pablo alone. Don't go boasting, don't go doing this thing. Jimbo get up, brush off himself, put his hand in hand, he turned to, he said, but I bet something. I bet you Pablo can't do what I just go though.
You know, talking about sharks and stuff like that, when we were growing up, the pier was not as long as it is now. It had a little short pier, which was maybe 20, 30 feet out in the water, and another long pier that was about maybe a couple 100 feet, maybe 150 feet out. And the big boats, the cargo boats, used to stay out about maybe a half a mile or more out at sea, and then they would use the lighters to bring the lighters or the smaller boats to unload the big boat onto the lighter and then bring it to the pier and unload them. And when there were no boats in the harbor, no cargo ship in the harbor, they would tie the lighters out there, and there were about 5 or 6 of them. And these were big, maybe 40, 50 foot barges. And we as kids, crazy as hell, not a care in our lives, used to get a bucket with a fishing line with some bait and swim out to the lighter, climb up on the lighter, fish off of the lighter, catch fish, put the fish back on the fish that we caught, string them on the string, on the thing, and swim back to shore, sometimes at night, in the evening. And this wasn't something that you did once, or this was common that we did this. And not a care, and I don't mind a half a mile, 2 miles up on the beach. They're killing cattle and there's blood in the water. The water is this red for maybe 2 or 3 acres, just red water, and you could see the sharks fins in between. And we're down here a half a mile and we're swimming out, not a care in the world. Well, when they built the pier, the first Frederick pier, and they took it out to, half a mile or so. That's about how long the pier is, about close to that. And we started walking on the pier and looking down and seeing what was down there. A big hammerhead shark was there. Used to live there all the time. A big barracuda was there, living there all the time. And Jerry left already, but Jerry and I were from kindergarten to 6th and 7th grade together, so we're pretty much the same age. And so he would know this. And those, like Bully was saying earlier, those sharks, I've never heard of a shark attack. I've heard of shark eating a dog or something like that here, but I've never heard of a shark attack here on the western side on a person. And for all the risks that we used to take, it was crazy. I mean, when I started looking down and I saw what was down there, well, as you get older, you get wiser. And you say, not me, and you start thinking about the chances that you used to take and all that stuff, and you go, wow, I couldn't believe this. And around that time too, there were a lot more fish. Where they built the oil refinery, there was a lagoon there. Well, there is a lagoon there called Krause Lagoon, and that was apparently was the nursery for a lot of especially the big fish, the sprat and the jacks, things like that. And they would form a school of fish, an acre, 2 acres wide.
You should call it the black.
Yes, the black. And they would traverse from the south side, go around Sandy Point, come down, be all around this pier. And we as kids would go with what we call a jig. And it was a 3-pronged fish hook. And we would try to throw it between the fish, the small fish, and try to do that and jig them. And that's how we would fish. And we would catch bait. The older guys would use the net, the cast net, and they would catch the bait. And that's what they would use in their boats to go out and fish for cavalli or gars and stuff like that. And then, of course, when there was a school of jacks, the established fishermen would go out with their seine and surround the fishes and then draw them into land. And that's how they'll have a boatload of nothing but jacks or
jacks in the market.
Jacks or sometimes cavalli and stuff like that. They would catch. But that's how it was then. I mean, you could see the school of fish that came down.
But you know that right now, the government is attempting to try to get control over the fish. A lot of people who didn't witness what you talk about and I saw don't understand what it is really happened and Frederick said. Because Doc is right. When you could just almost pick and choose which fish you want. All wrong with that. I always had fish. Nowadays you walk up and then you don't see a single fish. Some areas you go fishing, you catching nothing. I remember being playing in a park and I remember this fellow like been there one day and he had a fish. He just catch a sand bigger. That's another thing I don't see much of. And put it on a hook, try it out. I catch a snapper, big snapper. That's how easy it was to catch a fish. And people don't realize why nowadays that is so important to try to at least control. Because I don't know, I guess unless they restore Cross Lagoon or something, I don't know.
Well, now they have the modern thing. They could establish fisheries where they would way out in the ocean, in the middle of the ocean, or establish an area where they could grow fingerlings and stuff like that. As a part of this story in my book is I have a section and they call my lucky fishing line, and it talks about how I would throw this line out, and it was so big. None of the other guys used to laugh at me because it was a 100-pound test, and I'm fishing offshore with it, and they would laugh at me. But it was the only line I had, and I would throw it out, and like you were saying, it was so plentiful that one time I threw it out right up there by where the cottages are, just to the south of that, the sleeping cottages. And I threw it out and I was pulling it in and it got stuck. And what I thought was stuck, and you know the trick that you do where you flick the line to try and get it unstuck. I'm doing that, and it wouldn't get unstuck. But I noticed that when I pull it, it would give, it would come. So I kept pulling it and pulling it and pulling it over it. Now I'm probably about 9 or 10 years old. And I'm pulling this thing in, and I'm thinking, well, it must be an old shoe, or old boot, or something like that. And I got it in, and there is this humongous lobster. Humongous lobster at the end of this line. But it's holding on to the bait. You know, you didn't hook it. It's just holding the bait so much that I pull it in. I pull it till I'm sure. And by the time I realized that it was out of the water, and in my hand it was too late. So here I am, and then now I got to walk back home with this big fish, and I'm trying to, that fish is lobster, and I'm trying to get it, and I'm coming down, and I passed the fish market, and the guy said, "Where you get that big lobster? It's not me, let's try like a big lobster. It's too big for you, we're going to eat it." I said, "No, son, this one you're home." And I took it home, and I remember it was a Saturday, because that time my parents had this, it was a little club, and my mom used to cook food on Saturday, and my dad's friends, Mr. Shada, Mr. Gibbings, I don't think Murphy was back here yet, I think he was in the States at the time, and all of them, Louis Brown, all these prominent people would come by on Saturday, and they would eat, and I walk in the yard with this lobster well. I ain't seen a piece of the lobster yet. I get to eat. I get to eat maybe a couple of the legs, but they all had it. But that was my that was my pass to get back in the house after being away all day Saturday. But again, they go back to the way it used to be. And I like to talk about these stories because I like to talk about these things because it gives us an idea of what the island was like, what St. Croix was like. 30, 40, 50 years ago.
What we have lost, because you go down there now with a diving mask and it's like a desert.
Yeah, one time
people who know that place know something is wrong, big time wrong.
At that age, you couldn't keep me out of the sea. I used to run away from school. Matter of fact, that's why I got kicked out of Catholic school. I would go to classes in the morning, and I'd get bored. And when we took the lunch break, I would not come back. And I would go on the beach, and it could be out to the north side or go up to the south side. And I had to hide from the elders.
Oh yeah, those days they see out the school.
They saw
By the time you get home, your parents know.
They would report me. And that's what I used to do. I used to go fishing, swimming, and I mean, you could, when you go down, we didn't have snorkeling equipment and stuff, but a lot of us did a lot of diving just bare-face, just without any protection for your eyes.
Yes, that's
and
right.
things like that. And you could see all the fish. Now, I went swimming, about 10 years ago, I went swimming and I was up by Dorsch Beach, and some tourists came out the water snorkeling. And I said, "Did you see anything?" They say, "Yeah, lots of beer cans and beer bottles." I felt bad, but it was,
I think, I wanted...
They asked us for 15 minutes and we gave them 15.
I wanted to tell one more story, but I think everybody ready to go home now, so I'll save that one story,
for the next time.
Yeah, for the next time. Because I wanted to, with the hunting, fruits and seeds. See, you get away with going out from school because if your parents are doing the right thing, a poor Jumbi, or you would have never.
Well, but, they did more than that. My mom one day, she had arranged with the police captain, Mr. Albain, for the fort down here. And she said, the next time I catch him where he run away from school, I'm going to bring him down. I want you to lock him up for me, okay? So one day I'm walking, going up the street, and my mother drove up and jumped in. I got in the car. She brought me down to the fort. She said, Mr. O'Bain, Captain O'Bain, I don't want him no more. I don't want him no more. Just lock him up and throw the key away. I'm too tired of him now. We're getting in trouble all the time. So I go and Bones Morris was there. So Bones was a police officer, a young guy. And so he said, Captain O'Bain told him, Mr. Morris, lock him up. So he said, you want me to put him in the one with the Jumbies or the Santa Fe then? So I go, every little boy, you know, and I go and I'm crying now, I'm probably crying now. And they lock me up. And the thing that I remember is that the walls were so thick. If you ever go visit the Frederickson Fort, you'll see that the walls are anywhere from 1.5 to 2 feet thick. And the door, I don't know what the doors are now, but the doors were real 6 to 7 inches thick doors. So when they slammed behind you, you could feel it, boom. And boy, when they did that, I felt so shocked. I'm being in this cell and going to, I think I put him in the one with the Jumbi, that's okay, yeah. Well, luckily it was in the daytime. When they, around 6 o'clock, when they came and they said, Peterson, you could go home now and you need to go to school every day. And we're going to let you, I'm going to call your mother in 5 minutes, and if you're not there, we're coming back for you. Well, when they let me out the fort down there, and I start running up the street, what's his name, that guy Bolt now, Usain Bolt? He couldn't catch me. I was going, when I reach home, of course, you know, I got a little licking again from my father for skipping school, but you know what? Next day or two, I skip school again.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, I want to thank the audience. I have my book here. It's available for those who may want to purchase it. You can take it home with you and get it's 6 short stories. Jimbo, the main character, like I said, everything is set in the Frederickson, real places, real location. I wanted to tell you about this, one of the story, but I prefer you buy the book entitled The Raimi Mango Tree.
Yes.
You know,
very interesting.
yeah, the Raimi Mango Tree. That took place in LaGrange. Those of you who might know LaGrange will be able to identify the exact tree that's still sitting there up to this day, and the incident that happened, and that Raimi Mango Tree.
So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I was very pleased to see the young children there and the young college students and stuff there too. My book, I'm going to give it a little bit of a plug. You could get it there in the museum. They have it there. It's called Tales, and it's self-explanatory. But a lot of this type of stories that I told about myself and my family are in the book about growing up. And some of the names, those of you that lived here a while, you'll recognize some of the names because I did name real people and stuff like that. So thanks again for coming out tonight.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. We really had a wonderful evening. And it just goes to show you, when you get individuals that can tell a good story, they keep you even more entertained than that box that we all have in our house that my grandmother used to call the idiot box. So it's better to listen to a live person than to watch that box. I thank you all for coming this evening. I hope that you all had a wonderful time. We will be doing this again. When, I don't know exactly, but keep your eyes and ears open. We'll put the announcements out when we will be doing it again. I want to thank the Caribbean Museum Center for the Arts for allowing us, Queenswood Frederickson, to come in and be able to present this to you this evening. And I thank you all for your support by coming here to support Doc Peterson and Bully Peterson as they tell their stories, their folk tales and their tales of folks. Thank you once again. You all have a blessed and beautiful evening. Thank you for coming, and that's it. Good night.